The Arctic is melting. What was once a frozen wasteland is transforming into a new frontier, rich in resources and strategic possibilities. This transformation has not gone unnoticed. Global powers are increasingly turning their attention north, their eyes on the potential riches and the shifting balance of power. Russia, with its vast Arctic coastline, has been aggressively asserting its presence, reopening old military bases and conducting large-scale military exercises. The United States, while lagging behind in recent years, has begun to reassert its own Arctic strategy, recognizing the region's growing importance. China, though geographically distant, has declared itself a near-Arctic state and is investing heavily in Arctic research and infrastructure. This competition for influence and resources is heating up, mirroring the melting ice. The Arctic is becoming a stage for great power rivalry, a potential flashpoint in an increasingly uncertain world. As the ice recedes, the risk of conflict rises. The world watches, holding its breath, as the Arctic thaw threatens to ignite a global firestorm. At the heart of this new Arctic scramble lies Greenland, the world's largest island. Greenland holds immense reserves of oil, gas, and rare earth minerals, resources made increasingly accessible by the melting ice. Its strategic location, bridging North America and Europe, adds to its geopolitical significance. The United States, with its historical ties to Greenland through NATO, has long maintained a military presence there, primarily at Thule Air Base. However, recent years have seen China attempting to exert its influence, offering economic investments and proposing infrastructure projects. This has raised concerns in Washington about China's long-term intentions in the region. Greenland, seeking greater autonomy from Denmark, finds itself courted by global powers, each offering their own vision of the island's future. This competition for influence, playing out against a backdrop of climate change and geopolitical rivalry, has turned Greenland into a microcosm of the larger Arctic struggle. The fate of this icy island could have far-reaching consequences for the global balance of power. Thousands of miles from the icy plains of the Arctic, another region simmers with tension. Kashmir. Disputed for decades between India and Pakistan, Kashmir has been the epicenter of multiple wars and countless skirmishes. The presence of nuclear weapons in both countries adds a terrifying dimension to this volatile mix. Recent years have seen a marked escalation in tensions. Cross-border shelling, terrorist attacks, and military buildups have become increasingly common. Both sides accuse the other of provocation, and the rhetoric has become increasingly bellicose. The international community watches with growing concern, fearing that a miscalculation or accident could trigger a conflict with catastrophic consequences. The situation in Kashmir is a stark reminder of the fragility of peace in the age of nuclear weapons. It is a conflict fueled by history, nationalism, and deep-seated mistrust. The stakes are incredibly high, not just for India and Pakistan, but for the entire world. A nuclear exchange in South Asia would have devastating humanitarian and environmental consequences, potentially drawing in other global powers. Section 4. The global stakes, interconnected conflicts, and the risk of escalation. While geographically distant, the Arctic and Kashmir are not isolated flashpoints. They are interconnected pieces of a larger geopolitical puzzle, their fates intertwined with the actions of global powers and the shifting dynamics of the international order. The growing rivalry between the United States and China, evident in the Arctic and elsewhere, has cast a long shadow over international relations. Russia, seeking to reassert itself on the world stage, has also become increasingly assertive, its actions in Ukraine and Syria further fueling global instability. This complex interplay of ambitions and anxieties has created a volatile international environment where regional conflicts have the potential to escalate rapidly. The risk of miscalculation is high. In a world of hypersonic missiles, cyber warfare, and artificial intelligence, the old rules of deterrence and conflict resolution are being rewritten. The potential for a small conflict to spiral out of control, drawing in major powers, has never been greater. The future of peace, it seems, hangs by a thread. Section 5. The cyber threat, a new dimension of warfare. Adding to this volatile mix is the growing threat of cyber warfare. No longer confined to the digital realm, cyber attacks now have the potential to cripple critical infrastructure, disrupt economies, and sow chaos on a national scale. This new dimension of warfare has blurred the lines between peace and conflict, making it difficult to determine the origins of an attack or to formulate a proportionate response. Nations are investing heavily in their cyber capabilities, both offensive and defensive. Cyber attacks have become a tool of statecraft, used for espionage, sabotage, and even as a prelude to conventional military action. The recent SolarWinds hack, attributed to Russia, demonstrated the crippling potential of such attacks, compromising thousands of organizations worldwide. The cyber domain has become a new battleground, one where the rules of engagement are still being written. The anonymity and deniability offered by cyber attacks make them a tempting weapon for states and non-state actors alike. The potential for miscalculation and escalation is high, as is the risk of a cyber attack spiraling into a larger conflict. Section 6. The human cost of geopolitical gamesmanship. Lost in the geopolitical calculations and strategic maneuvering is the human cost of these tensions. In Kashmir, generations have grown up under the shadow of conflict, their lives marked by violence, displacement, and the constant threat of war. In the Arctic, indigenous communities are facing the consequences of climate change and the influx of outside interests, their traditional ways of life threatened by the melting ice and the scramble for resources. The pursuit of national interests, often cloaked in the language of security and strategic necessity, can blind us to the human toll of these conflicts. The lives disrupted, the families torn apart, the futures left uncertain. These are the true costs of geopolitical rivalry. It is a reminder that behind the maps and the statistics, behind the pronouncements of politicians and the analysis of experts, lie the stories of real people, their lives intertwined with the fate of nations. Section 7. A call to action. Diplomacy as the only path forward. The world stands at a crossroads. The path we choose, the actions we take in the coming years, will determine whether the 21st century is one of cooperation or conflict, one of shared prosperity or shared destruction. The challenges we face are immense, but so too is our capacity for reason, compassion, and collective action. The time for diplomacy is now. We must resist the siren song of nationalism and militarism, the allure of quick solutions and easy answers. The path to peace lies in dialogue, in understanding, in a willingness to see the world through the eyes of others. We must strengthen international institutions, uphold the rule of law, and work together to address the common threats facing humanity. The alternative is unthinkable. A world consumed by conflict, where fear and mistrust reign supreme, is not a world we can afford to create. The stakes are too high, the consequences too dire. We owe it to ourselves, to future generations, to choose a different path, a path that leads to a more peaceful, just, and sustainable world.